let's talk about how I went from 0 to 2000 in chess on multiple different platforms, not just chess.com and lead chess, but also I go to tournaments and consistently beat a 2000 plus rated player in each and every tournament. That rating has not gotten to 2000 yet because it takes time to go to live tournaments. I don't have a lot of time to go do that, especially with multiple day tournaments, but I am a 2000 in strength player, and I'm going to show you how I finally did that. It seemed out of my reach. I was stuck at 1500 for a while, 1700 for a long time, and then finally I figured out the things that helped me kind of push to the next level. A lot of the tips you're going to find in this video you're not going to find in other chess videos. I consume a lot of chess content because I love chess. You're just not going to find them in other videos, so I think you're going to get a lot out of this video. We're going to talk about how to make decisions in chess, but also I'm going to talk about the openings you should be playing and also the openings you should not be playing and wasting your time with. If you're a real person just like me, you don't have like hours and hours to consume a lot of chess and just practice chess. You need to save that time for studying appropriately, and I'm going to show you what to do in this video. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to decide what move to make when it comes to chess and making good decisions, essentially. And what I have found is the beginning chess tips don't always help you to get you to the next level. Like, control the center, that's develop, that sort of thing. That's not going to help you. A lot of chess as you move to higher levels is very intuitive, and it ultimately comes down to furthering your plans and preventing your opponent's plans, and ultimately making the most annoying move possible for your opponent. And so I took this game from took this position from one of my games, and as you can see here, I made a move which was super annoying to my opponent. Now I could have done a couple things here. I could have moved my bishop to e2, maybe c4 to put some pressure on the f7, maybe move my bishop back. There's a couple different things I could have done, but the move here that I made was castling. So I queenside castle, which I developed, but I also put pressure on that d pawn, and it's super annoying because my opponent has no it creates a lot of problems for my opponent. If he moves his white squared bishop, he's going to hang that pawn, and so in order for him to kind of get untangled, he has to do a lot of different things. He has to move his queen over, he has to move his rook over. He can't move his knight because it's pinned. If he moves his knight, then he'll lose his rook. If he moves his bishop to defend the knight, again, he hangs the pawn. And furthermore, if he pushes the pawn, he will lose that because I have enough defenders on that square. I can just take the pawn. So this creates a lot of problems for my opponent. He ended up losing this game about 10 moves later. This was a bullet game, but ultimately it comes down to you need to make the most annoying move for your opponent as possible. And sometimes that's not furthering your plan, but preventing your opponent's plan. So that should be the first thing, and maintaining weaknesses. So be annoying to your opponent, stop his plans, further your own, and attack weaknesses. And that will guide you to determine what decision is the best to make. The next thing we'll talk about that I haven't seen in a lot of videos, you can find these in a couple different chess videos, but ultimately, like who's better in a position. If we drew a line in the board, in the exact middle of the board, generally speaking, the person who is better, who has the better position, has more pieces on the other opponent's other side of the board. So as you can see here, I have 2 knights on his side of the board, and he only has 1 pawn on my side of the board. So generally, I am winning in this position, strategically speaking. I think if you put this into an engine, I'm technically down a pawn here. I sacrificed a pawn, but my opponent, again, a 2000 rated plus player in bullet, resigned in this position. He felt lost. He literally resigned in this position because it feels like, I think a computer could probably defend this, but this looks very lost for black in this position. So generally speaking, if you want to get more of your pieces to the other opponent's side of the board, and if your opponent has pieces or pawns on your side, you should be trying to push them away and again gain that space. So that's something to always kind of keep in mind as well. The next thing that I see a lot of beginners, and this is another point that really brought me from 1700 to 2000, and it's ultimately allowing tension to get built into a position. And I see when it comes to trading pieces, especially lower rated players, 1000, 1300, 1500 even range, they will just trade pieces and pawns just because they like to trade the pieces. And ultimately, you should not be trading pieces. And let me really hammer this home. Do not trade unless you get something out of it. You need to get a better, like a stronger bishop, a stronger knight. Like if you're in a closed position, trade a bishop for a knight because a knight is better in a closed position. Or trade your knight for a bishop in a very wide open position. Like don't just trade pieces and pawns just because you can take it. Like keep the tension in this position. So as you can see here, I could have taken his e pawn with my d pawn, but ultimately that kind of gives him a better central control by allowing him to take back in the center with another pawn. He has more pawns in the center. That doesn't benefit me. So I need to keep the tension and do something else, right? And he already committed to castling queenside. This is a wide open position. It's very dynamic. But what I decided, I kept the tension and I pushed on the queen side because his queen's there. I'm going to be able to bring my rook over, put some pressure on his queen and his king, open up the lines. I think I'm going to get to his king faster than he'll get to mine. And ultimately, that's what happened. He actually, right after this, took in the center, allowing me to have a bigger center and opening up more lines against his king. So he took in the center, I took back with my c-pawn, and I had 2 rooks going down, 2 rooks and a queen all putting pressure, and he shortly lost the game thereafter. So again, I really want to hammer this home that do not take just to take. Like this is going to bring your positional understanding and your rating much higher when you learn not just to trade pieces, just to trade pieces. So now let's get into the openings and the openings tiers list. And a lot of time is wasted on studying openings. And so the criteria I used for this tiers list is that you should be playing openings that do not have a ton of different types of ideas and positions in the opening, a ton of different variations that all look different because you can't find your way through. And so that's one key thing, but also like in terms of how important is it to know those exact variations? And as you can see on the don't play tier, I say as white, do not play e4 and do not play e5 as black in e5. Like if white plays e4. And the reason being, especially with e5, you have to know all the different gambits and variations that white can throw at you as an e5 player. And they're all different. And you can easily and quickly lose as an e5 player if you're continuing to lose e5. e4, e5 is great when you're first starting out to just understand like just beginning chess, control the center, develop, that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. But in terms of going to the next level, you're spending too much time memorizing all those variations and you forget because the positions look so different. Don't waste your time with e4, e5. Don't waste your time with the Sicilian as a black player because not only could you lose quickly in a Sicilian position, but also there are tons of different anti-Sicilian variations that white could throw at you, and they're all different, and you need to have a line against it. So you shouldn't. You're not using your time effectively by playing those types of positions. Another reason why some of these openings are in the A tier, and the thing that I appreciate, like for example, I play the Nemzovich as black against e4, and which is e4 and then knight c6 as black. And I can't tell you the number of tournaments I've been in where I play that move and against 2,000 rated players, and they have no idea what to do. And already they're sweating from move 1. And that's a strategic thing when you're playing real players. Like, of course, if you put it into a computer, and some people will say, oh, that's not the best move. The Sicilian e4, e5 is the best move according to the computer. You're not playing computers. You're playing people, humans, and they're not going to make perfect moves. So strategically, if you can play maybe a less, not as computer equal position, but you can get a psychological advantage and a surprise effect on your opponent, because basically when I play knight c6 as black, you're playing in my court. I know what to do, and this player doesn't know what to do because they never see the Nemzovich, right? They rarely see as, if you're playing white, the bird. Do people have a line against the bird? Most don't. And if you know what to do with the bird, you can guide that game your way. Plus, the ideas like in the bird are pretty simple, and you're going to see those positions over and over again. So you're going to get really good at that opening, and your opponent's not, because he rarely sees it. So you should be playing these A tier positions. Same thing with the B tier, like black versus E4, the Alekhine, right? How often do you see Alekhine as an E4 player? You hardly ever see an Alekhine, and so that's the generally this is the guide for that. So take a screenshot, do whatever you want to do, and study these openings. Quit wasting your time with those other openings. And that's why, like with the C tier, you can play like the Nemzo Larson and the Perk, but I often find like with the Nemzo or the Nemzo positions like B3, B6, there's so many different ways that the game can go. Those positions are different, and there are subtleties in it where you're just going to lose. And so don't spend your time on those openings. The same thing with the Perk, and as black against D4, the Kid, the Grunfeld, the Benoni, the Modern. You'll often find in those positions you'll be playing right moves and you'll just get destroyed, because if you make the slightest mistake, you're just off. Like I played a 1100 1300 player, I'm kind of coaching him, and there was an opportunity for me, and I was playing the King's Indian defense to get up 2 pawns, and it was a blitz game, and I was like, well, I'm going to get up 2 pawns, but I'm going to have to defend for a while. But I still did it. I took the 2 pawns, but I quickly lost again against a 1300 player. That just happens. But the premise is like you'll just sometimes lose, because oftentimes white's moves are really easy to find, and black's defensive moves are not easy to find when you play those types of openings. And I played the Modern for a long time. I got to 1700. I was a good player at that level, but I just found time and time again I just was getting crushed in those types of positions, and I learned like this isn't the best opening to do. Yeah, I'm just wasting my time. So keep that in mind. Take a screenshot of this list, play these openings so that you're not spending time on all these different variations. Don't waste your time. So the next thing in terms of tips for how I got to 2000 in blitz, and this is what I would recommend you do every day when you sit down at the computer and play chess online, is the first thing you should be doing is playing chess puzzles. And this is just to get your tactics going, and so that you're seeing things quickly. And so you're not hopping into a game right away and then losing some points. You're actually warming up. The same thing in other sports. You stretch and practice before you go into a live game, right? So you should be practicing before you go into a live game. So play chess puzzles. And at the time, I wanted to get to 2000 in blitz first. So I didn't care about my bullet rating. So I would play a couple bullet games to get my speed up and my processing up. And I didn't care if I lost or not, but it was preparing me. When I felt ready and good and a good place, then I would play blitz. And that helps you to kind of move up there. And every time whenever I'm sitting down playing blitz, I have a goal. So if I was at 1300, my goal is to get I'm going to get to 1350 for today, or 1400, or what have you. Have a goal and sit down and focus on that goal for the day. Now, if it's a good day and you're playing really well, keep playing so that you can go up. But conversely, if it's a bad day and you're just not on it, walk away. And this is where sometimes you'll sit down and you've lost 50 to 100 points. I'm sure everybody's been there. And sometimes you're winning a game and then you blunder in the last game and then you're just so mad, and then your opponent wants a rematch. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get him. And you do a rematch. So that's like revenge chess. Do not do that. So, but don't take a rematch just when you're upset. If you're upset, walk away for the day because you don't play well. Again, conversely, if you're playing an opponent and you beat him and he wants a rematch, take that all day. You will get 50 to 100 points on somebody who is frustrated, and they will just keep playing frustrated chess, and you're just going to keep taking points. So just know that as a tip as well. I haven't heard that anywhere else, but that will help you with that. Again, only play from the tiers list, those openings, and spend time on that. You should always review your games, and what you'll find when you're reviewing your games, there are certain opening variations that you will find that I keep losing in this variation. I need to be looking at this. For a while, I played the French defense, and I found when I reviewed my games that I often lost in the exchange variation. Even though it's the most equal variation for black, I would just lose. So I needed to find a different system for playing the exchange variation. When I fixed that, my rating went up. So that's important to look at and review your games, figure out where you went wrong, do that sort of thing. And then when it comes to learning these openings, watch chess streamers, grandmasters who play your opening, and you're going to really get good at those types of positions, and you're going to really progress your chess a lot. So whatever those tier openings that I have mentioned, find people who play those. So I love Ginger GM. I think he's a great teacher. I love his chess streams. I would encourage you to find some openings, find some of his stuff, and watch him. He's a really great chess teacher. He helped me a lot. I find Chess Bro Amen has some really good walkthroughs through chess. I think he has a really good one, in my opinion. If you really want to play the Sicilian, watch his one on the Sicilian and the English. It's a really brilliant way of playing. You can play the English. It's higher up on my tier. And then you can play the Sicilian as he plays it like the English. And you're not going to get knocked off the board playing in that way. So if you're like, really, I want to play Sicilian, follow that stream, and then you're going to learn how to play it in that way. So I think those are kind of the biggest things. And if you follow my advice in this video, I guarantee you'll spend better time in your chess, and you will further your chess and hopefully hit that 2,000 rated mark. I think that was a goal of mine for a long time. Finally hit it. And so now the next step is master. So I hope this helped. Again, if you got a lot of value from this, make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like more content on just how to learn languages, just personal development. If you want to learn how to make YouTube content that you love and sell products, I got a link below for that. We meet every week and we discuss how you can sell digital products online. So I hope to see you there. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.